Welcome to the Binoculars. My channel focuses solely on exposing lies and presenting the truth and standard perspectives to you.
Brother, you got it wrong. You were preposterously and stupidly wrong. You don't know anything.
You attacked me personally.
You're so deluded.
All right.
Can I just finish a goddamn thought?
And by the way, this idea that Trump won with some kind of mandate is not true.
His popular vote victory ranks 44th out of 51. That ain't exactly strong. Some might argue that is weak.
If you hear anyone calling this election a landslide, please stop listening to that person.
They have been soundly defeated. Donald Trump has a mandate, and he's going to deliver. It's that simple.
All right, so left-wing media host Cenk Uygur humiliates Professor Allan Lichtman, who is also known as a election guru. He predicts elections and was utterly embarrassed on election night, to say the least. This has led to what? Left-wing media now claiming that the loss is due to misinformation. They're even going to the point of downplaying this victory by saying that it's not a landslide. We're going to debunk all this nonsense in this video, of course. But let's start with Allan Lichtman getting his ass handed to him.
Look, we could get into this discussion, but one, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. Look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him
and
before
I
the
was
election.
not wrong, and that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
Who
taking
won?
cheap
Who
shots
won?
at me.
Who won?
You want to make your
You
point,
live
make your
in a
point.
total
Don't make it
world of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah,
so quiet with your personal attacks.
Yeah, come find out again.
Make whatever point you want.
Yeah.
Don't make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know anything.
You attacked me personally.
You're so deluded.
Oh, right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program, I've never been able to finish a thought.
How many books have you published? No, because you're personally attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to stand for personal
brother, you got it wrong.
You
were preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just finish a goddamn thought ever on this show?
No, not if you're personally I admitted I was wrong. I don't need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
Can I just say, it's great to see you Democrats all getting along so well.
Who taught you manners?
It's lovely to see a post-election harmony as you all come together again.
Hey, Allan, right now. Okay, so let's understand the bigger picture here. Allan Lichtman is a part of a group of Democrats who truly sold people on the idea that Trump was never going to win. He didn't even have a chance. I mean, that's how convinced they were of this idea that he would lose, and also they convinced the donors, the voters, right, the pundits, everybody on the left was convinced. And when obviously that doesn't come to reality, not everybody's going to take it very well, and I would put him in that category of people who's not taking it well, and he's having a hard time admitting that he read his 13 keys wrong. And so he's getting lazy by calling it misinformation.
I am forthrightly willing to admit I missed this election. I still think I actually had 10 out of 10 before. I think I was right about 2000, but we're not here to litigate that. I still think it's a pretty good record. Now, I think two things are operating here. Number one, I was incredibly critical at the time of the spineless, cowardly Democrats openly and viciously trashing their elected president and their elected nominee right out there in the open. My keys are based upon the proposition that a pragmatic, rational electorate decides whether or not the White House party is governed well enough to get 4 more years. That was exploded this time by a new wave of disinformation that we've never seen before.
All right, so disinformation, misinformation, call it whatever you want. Clearly, everyone on your side misread what was actually important to voters. And 13 keys, 15 keys, 21 keys, 3 keys, I don't care what keys you come up with. I don't care what election prediction you come up with. At the end of the day, it's not foolproof, okay? There's always some election or some variable that can't be accounted for until you go through it and then you see it, hindsight 2020, right? But telling a professor for 50 years who has written 13 books that he's wrong, yeah, that's probably not going to work out. And this is why the Democratic Party is in free fall at this point, because they all act the same way. They think they know better. They're elitists. They want to show off their resume and they make you think that they are better than you, but results show that they're not.
You're blaming disinformation. There was disinformation. There was the cats and the dogs nonsense. The points you're making about undocumented immigrants, I agree with, Allan, okay? But that didn't cost the election. The people who are at fault are not other people. It is the candidate, Kamala Harris, the previous candidate, Joe Biden, Democratic Party, Democratic leadership. You guys don't want to admit that they're the problem. They're the cancer in the Democratic Party. The most popular part of the Democratic Party is the populist left. That is the Bernie Sanders 2016 campaign. That part says, let's do super popular economic proposals like paid family leave, higher minimum wage, universal health care, public option. Let's do all of these things. And the establishment goes, no, our corporations don't want that. Our donors don't want that. So we'll just do identity politics.
Now, I told you he was lazy, he's dishonest, and it's more about his feelings and his ego more than anything else. A great example of this is he has now deleted his account from the X platform and has now run to Blue Skies. So Clay Travis put up this post, these dudes are all so soft. I totally agree. Professor Allan Lichtman, who predicted that Kamala Harris would win the presidency, has just announced he is deactivating his X account and leaving. Here's the actual post here. I'm done with X. I will be deactivating my account soon. The good news is I'll be over on Blue Cries is what I call it. You can follow me there. Yeah, this is what they're all doing because they don't want to face the truth. They don't want to deal with discourse, and they'd rather run to their echo chambers. Now, here is the professor continuing to cope by doubling down this idea that pushing Biden out of the race was a bad idea.
I can't think of a dumber move. It's really, and I've studied politics since the founding. And so the result is, based on one bad debate performance. And by the way, when Barack Obama, the great Democratic hero, had his first debate against Mitt Romney, 20% thought he won the debate, as compared to 33% that thought Biden won the debate, despite his having COVID.
Yeah, so he has the disease that he doesn't want us to believe what we see and hear, right? We know there's something wrong with the president. We saw that there was something wrong on the debate stage. They did not come out and say that he had COVID before that debate. So trying to use that as an excuse is not going to work, okay? We already know what happened. It is what it is, but he's still stuck in the past. The problem is he has people a part of the same party actually telling the truth. Listen to this.
When the Biden campaign becomes the Harris campaign, that the Biden campaign's own internal polling at the time when they were telling us he was the strongest candidate showed that Donald Trump was going to win 400 electoral votes. That's what their own internal polling.
Okay, so if the White House internal polls show that Trump is going to win by 400 electoral votes, tell me, Professor Allan Lichtman, why it was a bad idea to push him out of the race. I mean, come on, dude. Just get with it already, right? But no, he can't because he goes to the level of this ridiculous idea. Listen.
So the idea that Trump was this great charismatic figure is absolute nonsense. And again, if you looked at his campaign, it was the worst campaign we've ever seen in the history of the country. His victory had nothing to do with Trump's charisma, nothing to do with his campaign. I've given you at great length my explanation of why the keys didn't work, both because of what the spineless Democrats did. And by the way, those same spineless Democrats, are they looking in the mirror and trying to figure out what they did wrong, Sam?
Well, he would be one of those spineless Democrats because he needs to look in the mirror when it comes to his 13 keys. I mean, he was totally off. I mean, there's no question about it. I went through him on election night. I clearly saw that Trump was going to win if I used his 13 keys. He just has a perception problem of how he reads the keys. He is a human. After all, he's not an AI or a robot. But again, don't tell a 51-year career professor that, right? They will get upset. Now, here is CNN downplaying Trump's landslide victory because I told you guys coping level number 1 was it's not our fault, it's the voters' fault. Coping level number 2 is, oh, well, it actually wasn't a landslide victory. Watch.
His popular vote victory ranks 44th out of 51. That ain't exactly strong. Some might argue that is weak, 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 in the words of Tony Blair. In fact, his popular vote win at this point is the weakest, going all the way back. You have to go all the way back to 2000 to find a weaker one, a smaller popular vote victory than Donald Trump currently has. So, yeah, Trump has won the popular vote, but it ain't all that, my dear friend John Berman.
You know, George W. Bush had a bigger popular vote
Yes.
in 2004, and if you're looking at a combination of popular vote and electoral college vote.
All right, so if you guys are getting value from this video, please like, share, subscribe to our channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below, shop the merch store, or buy us a cup of coffee. Okay, the term landslide victory. I'm going to give you two scenarios. You let me know in the comments section which one is more likely to resonate with that term. Scenario A, Trump beat Kamala Harris 54% to 47% in the popular vote, but when it came to the electoral college numbers, he won, 315 and she had 305. But he lost the Senate and the House. That's scenario A. Or scenario B, Trump beats Kamala Harris 49 to 46 in the popular vote. He smashes her with the electoral college with 312 to 244 or whatever. He wins the Senate and the House. So what scenario sounds more like a landslide victory to you? Let me know in the comment section below. These guys are pathetic at this point, right? But this is what they're doing when we're talking about coping and not accepting the reality that they just straight up got defeated, and not just barely, handedly. However, you got people like Joey Behar saying things like this.
And by the way, this idea that Trump won with some kind of mandate is not true. I mean, we have information there. He beat Kamala Harris by 1.6%. Joe Biden beat Trump by 4.5%, and nobody said it was a mandate. So get that out of your lips, out of your mouth, these people who are saying it's a mandate. It's not a mandate.
But see, the interesting thing about all this, it doesn't matter what they think. It really doesn't matter what CNN thinks or Professor Allan Lichtman. It doesn't really matter what I think. What matters is, what do the voters believe? They believe they've given Donald Trump a mandate. They expect results from this Trump administration. Call it whatever you want, but the intention is there. Now, MSDNC joined the party too by downplaying this landslide win. Check this out.
If you hear anyone calling this election a landslide, please stop listening to that person about elections, at least. We have seen landslides in this country, and they don't look like this election.
Can I rebuttal that really quick? If you hear anyone saying that Trump has no chance to win, that he'll never set foot in the White House again, that he'll never stand behind the seal, how could you, United States of America? Probably don't listen to that person when it comes to elections, right? I mean, these guys, they're a joke. Do they hear themselves? I don't think they do, of course. Now, it wasn't just on MSDNC. Some of his nonsense was on Fox News as well. Here's what Jessica had to say.
For people who are talking about this as if we got completely decimated, the numbers don't bear that out. So Trump didn't cross 50% of the popular vote. So the majority of Americans didn't vote for him. And Senate Democrats performed really well. So people like Ruben Gallego, Tammy Baldwin, Jackie Rosen in Nevada, they ran 7-8 points ahead of Kamala Harris, which is what was predicted. And that does show that this normie coalition can't exist. It was that Trump had a special sauce at the top of the ticket for a lot of people.
And yes, there is also a clip of deranged Reed pushing the same talking points, but we have Byron Donalds setting the record straight. Watch.
So before you sink into despair, thinking Trump won some sort of landslide or mandate, never forget that his so-called landslide is winning just slightly over 50% of the approximately 63% of eligible voters who bothered to turn out.
So it's going to be resist, and they're trying to give themselves the ammunition to do it with talking points like that. What are your thoughts?
If they're going to go down the line of saying that the election night 2 weeks ago was not a landslide, this is the Democrat Party continuing to keep their heads in the sand. And as long as their heads are there, the rest of America will be A-OK. Because we are going to get the Donald Trump agenda done here on Capitol Hill. We're not going to mince words. We're not going to waste a lot of time. We're going to get the job done. We have seen the country languish under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They were soundly defeated both of them. Let's not leave Joe Biden out because he was being beaten badly, and then Kamala Harris was beaten badly. They have been soundly defeated. Donald Trump has a mandate, and he's going to deliver. It's that simple.
And because they were soundly defeated, some of these unhinged liberals, especially people in the left-wing media, they're now pushing this idea that it's due to misinformation, particularly on platforms like X, and particularly because of right-wing extremists or independent creators, such as like a Megyn Kelly, for example. So here is Abby Phillips pushing that exact idea.
I think we can do as much as we can to always put factual information in the forefront, but we're not going to save us from the deluge of disinformation. I think we all have to play a role in that. And I hear it every day. People get extremely upset. You know, we have people who come on the show and they say things. Some of them are true, some of them are not. Some of them, honestly, they think are true. They think it's true, but it's not. And I have to then prioritize what's the most important thing to correct in this moment. Because I could sit here all day and just correct and correct and correct and correct, and that would not be very interesting. So I pick and choose, and we choose our battles, but it's a growing problem. I mean, smart people, often are regurgitating things that are not true because they saw it in a tweet. And until we get people to take that next step and say, hey, I saw this from Megyn Kelly, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, let me take another look. Until people do that, I think we're going to have this problem.
Okay, my only thing for Abby Phillips, standing right in front of her, I would say, yeah, but you have regurgitated things that were not true as well because your network told you to say them. So how do you square that? The problem isn't just independent creators. Don't look at us and say, well, you know, you guys are the problem. No, the problem actually originates on your end. If you guys actually told the truth and were neutral and down the line, then maybe people wouldn't flock to podcasts. Maybe people wouldn't flock to social media influencers. There's a reason why that is happening because the demand has increased. And the demand has increased. Why? Because the truth on the legacy media is nowhere to be found. So people have to go somewhere else to get it. Now, what's funny about all this is that MSDNC is admitting what I just said. Check this out.
1 in 5 adults regularly get their news from influencers on social media. The number is even higher among younger Americans, with almost 40% under the age of 30 getting their news from those sources. According to the Pew Research Center, the social media site X remains the most widely accessed platform, followed by Instagram and YouTube.
I mean, that comes obviously for political news. And Mike, that's the challenge. You grew up in a newsroom like Gene grew up in a newsroom. I mean, that's a challenge for a lot of mainstream media sources is, do they make themselves relevant again to hear 20% of adults who actually get influencers on social media?
I don't know
maybe somebody who makes baskets, and while they're making baskets, they look up and say, vote for candidate X.
I don't know how we make ourselves relevant again, because we can't compete with 20-second snippets on an iPhone, walking up the street,
morsels,
getting your entire news digest of the day in less than a minute on your phone as you're walking under the crowd with coffee in one hand and your phone in the other.
No, the actual problem is not the how. It's that you guys refuse to. I look at the legacy media in the same way that I look at Blockbuster. They refused to merge with Netflix, and as a result, they died off, okay? Legacy media has more than enough time and opportunity to turn every single personality they have on their network into an independent podcaster, similar to a Davey Wire, for example, right? They could do that, but they refuse to because they only know one way of reporting the news. And so they will live and die by the way that they came up unless they truly adapt, which I don't see that coming yet. And of course, CNN actually did something that was very smart. They admitted the power of X and how it's not actually a platform filled with right-wing extremists.
This really gets at it. Look at this. The party ID among those who regularly use X/Twitter for news. Back in 2022, 65% of those who regularly use Twitter/X for news were Democrats. Just 31% were Republicans. Look at where we are today. Just a completely different picture. Now it's basically split between Democrats at 48%, Republicans at 47%. And what I should note, Mr. Berman, is this new overall makeup matches the overall electorate.
So if you hear anybody on TV say that X is filled with a bunch of right-wing extremists, yeah, you should probably show them that clip because clearly that's not the truth. Secondly, what is happening currently right now is the left-wing extremists are all consolidating to a platform called Blue Skies, which is going to be rebranded to Blue Cries because all they do over there is therapy sessions about everything wrong with conservatives, Trump, and even Democrats who are obviously being moderate. Okay, so I know you watch my channel. You are subscribed, I assume. If you're not, please do so, because here's my question for you. Why do you watch this channel for news? Why is that? Why not watch the CNN, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC? Why not watch the legacy media channels? I mean, give me the main reason why you look to people like me or others for update on what's happening in our country. Let us know in the comments section below, because I believe that tells the entire story of this video and also answers the question of what people like Professor Allan Lichtman, people like Abby Phillips, and all these other unhinged people on the left refuse to accept. I did a video yesterday on The View, particularly Sunny Holston, who was forced to read a legal disclaimer live on air because she slandered Matt Gaetz, okay? And the reason why is because she is one of those individuals who refuses to accept reality. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share this channel with your friends. Stay tuned for more truth and insightful perspectives. Your support helps us grow and reach more people.